Hey, this is Ramon, channel is Alpha 4, and welcome to my channel. And lately I've been fielding some more interesting questions I feel it might be useful to answer and put forward some working definitions for a few terms that seem to be a source of contention on topics I discuss in my videos. First up is the term faith. Faith, the way that I use it, is a conviction or trust about the truth, arrived at by a voluntary act of free will, trusting the truthfulness of a claim or its premises based upon the degree of authority of the source presenting it as a fact, the level of confidence in the assurance of things we hope for, and the level of conviction about the evidence of things we have not seen. An act of the intellect when it assents to truth under influence of the will and moved by or through grace. Belief in a system or religion or a code of ethics, and trust in the doctrine and teachings thereof. The observance of an obligation of loyalty, fidelity, or piety to a person, promise, or creed. Trust in a promise justified by truth or wisdom. Then we get to its counterpoint, bad faith. Bad faith is a conviction in convenient conclusions without facts to back up those claims, or a claim formulated by intentionally omitting inconvenient truths. This faith, to be considered bad, must be reached or gained by a method other than through free will or free choice. Bad faith can be said to be evident when there is a lack of honesty or a proven record of untrustworthiness by the claimant. The term inerrant is the belief that the Bible is free from error in matters of faith, history, and science. Then comes the other big claim, infallibility. To be infallible is to say that something is absolutely trustworthy and immune from fallacy. Then there is tradition. That is the inherited cultural knowledge, laws, doctrines, statements, beliefs, legends, customs, practices, and information passed generation to generation along established lines, originating in an oral account. Then let's get to some terms of logic. Soundness. An argument is sound if it is valid and all its premises are true. So what is truth? Truth is that which is in accordance with actuality. These are statements in which its context is concurrent, that is, consistent with the meaning it presents. This truth is conditional on the relativity of the collective premises on the topic, soundness of its formulation, and validity of its conclusion, without disqualifiers such as common fallacies. Substantive to conditionals and incidentals, meaning that a statement can only be considered false if and only if it is not true. If this condition or incidental fails, then the statement is fallacious. But on the other hand, vagueness is not a disqualifier, as coherence, correspondence, and presuppositions must be taken into consideration and evaluated fairly and justly. This definite and dependent truth value is limited to its premises and conclusions, and does not reflect on commands, witticisms, sarcasms, questions, or paradoxes. Then there is validity. An argument is valid if and only if the conclusions follow the premises. Meaning that if all the premises are true, then the conclusion must be true. Then let's get to the big claim that the Bible is true. As to this claim, or at least my claim, that the Bible is true, what I mean by this is that the Bible, as defined and explained by the Church Fathers, the Magisterium of the Catholic Church, the Catechism of the Catholic Church, and many of the Christian church doctors of the faith, is allegorical, what atheists and anti-theists would call metaphorical, moral, meaning that it teaches and examines ethics, and anagogical, meaning that it speaks about mystical and spiritual realities. While the history presented in it is literal, that history is not necessarily accurate by current academic standards, and its claims are subject to interpretation. Yet its theology is inspired by God, useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, training in righteousness, and authentic when speaking about matters of salvation, as contained in tradition and scripture, as overseen by trusted bishops in communion with the Pope. Now, I made a lot of claims there, so let's examine and talk about in what ways the Bible is true. So let's begin with my first claim that wasn't so explicit in this definition. That is liturgical. The Bible is liturgical, meaning that it pertains to worship and ritual collected in formulas for particular arrangement for rites, such as a service meant to be performed as a group or as a body. The next sense in which the Bible is true is that of it being spiritually or mystically true. That is, it is true about the beliefs about the supernatural that cannot be proved empirically, or in other words, that which is unknowable by human effort. Much like Plato's forms, this is the idealism that spirit is the absolute reality, while corporeal perception can only interpret material, changing things. This is the old sense of the term extraordinary knowledge. And so the Bible speaks truth on extraordinary knowledge. Next, it is important to say that the Bible is allegorical. That is, it contains philosophical metaphor that compares things by exploring how they are similar in some respect or relationship in biblical, textual, apologetic method. This is explaining or interpreting elements of narrative as they stand for something else other than the plain meaning or simple understanding. Then there is its cousin term, analogical. The Bible is analogical. It compares things by metaphor or simile. The Bible is also a moral or ethical work. That is, it studies the science of practical reasoning as relates to human conduct of right and wrong. That is, the natural principles of the good, responsibilities, duty, obligation, virtue, and choice. The Bible studies human experience and distinguishes the results of the actions taken, be they actual or theoretical. Then let's examine My next claim, that the Bible is theological. That is, it is an attempt to understand systems of belief as regards existence, necessity, creation, purpose, and justice, usually with regard to a supreme being or some supreme beings, experienced or understood through some existential sense of understanding by the mortal explainer, yet almost always to dispel heresies of the theosophy, demonological, theological, idolatrous, or of a superstitious nature. This is the reasoning or discourse about the divine and divinity, investigating the contents of belief through the means of reason. While this can also refer to the science of faith, true theology distinguishes itself from theodicy by means of inspiration or revelation through faith and grace. Lastly, the Bible contains parable. That is, it contains short stories meant to teach spiritual truths through coded language. Alright, that's it for this video. Peace, like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let's have a discussion. Let's see what you all think about my understanding of religion, theology, faith, and the Bible.